Ep007.
Broadcasting live from Toronto, Canada. This is the Youth Community Culture Podcast with your host, Olu Q.
Blessed love family, welcome back to the Youth Community Culture Podcast. This is your host, Olu Q. This is your first time here. I want to welcome you to our show and encourage you to go check out our website, oluqspeaks.com. That's www.oluqspeaks.com. You can also check us out on Instagram and Twitter at oluqspeaks. That's our Twitter handle across the board. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Check us out. Interviews are live. They're up there. Please like our videos, comment. We're trying to get feedback in order to improve our show. Listen, man, today we got a very special interview. We have a guest with us who has been a staple in the Toronto music community, particularly the Toronto dancehall community. Mr. Blackz has been part of the Black Reaction sound for over 20 years now. And I met Blackz a couple years back in a community setting. And we've been working together ever since. And I want to just highlight him because I thought it was important for people who might be familiar with his music and what he's done to push the dancehall culture in Toronto. I wanted people to understand that this is someone who also spends time giving back to the community, working in the community, supporting young people, mentoring. And I wanted to take some time to have him share his experience with us. So we have a big interview today. I'm excited about it because I'd say it's like our first celebrity, you want to say, like our first, everybody who's been on has been somebody of importance. Let's make that very clear. But Blackz might be our first local celebrity in terms of like somebody who is known east to west, and just in terms of his music and his longevity and his contribution to the culture. So it's an honor to have him here with us today. Again, check us out. Interviews are on YouTube. They're on our site, of course. That's oluqspeaks.com. We want some feedback, man. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know how we can improve. We are quietly working to bring you the best possible product. I want to thank you to our to our team, man. What they did in the last few weeks. We had some technical issues with the show. We had a lot of traffic going through our site, and it kind of threw off our servers a little bit. So we had to regroup. So we took a week off. We apologize for people who were looking forward to an episode, but we had to take some time to put things in place. And I want to say a special thank you to our team for the efforts that they put into troubleshoot on the fly. All right, so no more long talking, man. Again, check us out. Let us know what you think. You can email us at olu@oluqspeaks.com, or you can email our team if you have any questions or any thoughts about the show at ycc@oluqspeaks.com. All right, let's have some fun, man. It's a great interview. Let's get into it. Let's go. All right, people, what's up? Welcome back to the Youth Community Culture. It's your host, Olu Q, and I'm here today with a very special guest, one half of the legendary sound, Black Reaction. Mista Blackz, welcome to the show, sir.
Greetings. Thank you very much, sir.
Aye, man. How you doing today?
I'm all right. Give thanks, Grateful.
Yeah, we're just out here breezing out right now on a beautiful summer day.
Yeah, man. Sun is shining hot. It feels good. It feels real good. Welcome all the summer babies. It's your time.
It's your time. You're saying, yo, happy belated Father's Day, by the way.
Well, happy Father's Day to you, sir. I feel just as mothers, we should be saying happy Father's Day to each other, to our parents or our fathers that are a good role model in their children's life. So happy Father's Day to you as well, sir.
Big up yourself. I know that you are extremely proud of the whole fatherhood duties. And
I love being a father. I really do. I enjoy it every day with everything in me. It's my heartbeat, you know?
That's fair. So, what'd you guys do like this year? Did they do anything special for you?
Well, my children, my little ones, made me cards, of course, you know. I got a nice little picture, and I love you, Dad, from my littlest one. She's a little girl, you know, it's my wife's daughter, but it's my daughter.
It's your daughter.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
My son gave me a nice little love you, Dad plate, you know, and my older kids carried me out for brunch, you know. So it was nice. Brunch.
That's a blessing. So, Blackz.
Yes, sir.
You've been in the business for 20 years plus, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell us how you got into the music and some of your earliest influences.
Well, I would have to say my earliest influence was from my father, who himself was a DJ from Jamaica and came up here and started a life. And I've just been surrounded with music. I come from a family of 7 children, and every single one of them are musically inclined in some way. So I'm kind of like the apple that fell off the tree.
Okay,
that's
I mean? Fair.
Yeah.
So take us back to how the sound started out in the first place.
Okay, with Black Reaction?
The Black Reaction sound.
Okay, let me give you a little quick brief run through. Originally in high school, me and my friends wanted to be different. Everybody was into the hip-hop culture, which was very strong back in the 80s. My friend and I were more into the roots, so we started a little sound in the summer of 1987.
Wow.
Okay, and that sound was, the reason we started was we were trying to stay out of trouble because at that time there was a lot of gang problems. They had gangs from Rexdale side, Jane Finch, Scarborough, downtown, and this was the way for me and my friend to stay out of trouble. So we spent the whole summer in the basement that year, where we just practiced it a lot. A gentleman by the name of Prento, which, you know, love him forever, recognized us and took us out. So by the time we were about 16, 17, we were playing with some of the biggest sounds that would come from Jamaica, like the Stone Loves, the Bass Odyssey, the Super Saints, the Copper, etc. Doing that, we went through a little shuffle up. So at that time, everybody was more into doing their own thing. I got recruited from the sound Black Reaction by the owners, Paul Watson and Michael Lewis, may their soul rest in peace.
R.I.P., yeah,
you know, they were gunned down in 2000. You know, it was unfortunate to us, but I'll get into that after. They recruited us, came up with a formula. Myself, Kamal Davis, who's also a fitness trainer. He works as a youth worker as well. And my friend K9, of course, who we've all been playing sports together from we were younger. So we just formed a different team and we just ran with it ever since. So we were introduced to a lot of concerts. We were getting dates with concerts. We did a lot of competition because at that time there was a lot of sound clash culture was getting large. So we went down as one of the sounds that had the most trophies at the time, which we counted up to 36 before we stopped. Wow. So we won 36 different awards amongst the sound. Before we decided to stop the sound clash and just continue, you know, being a party sound, you know what I mean? So when you have the sound clash culture, which a lot of people don't understand, they think it's violent because of the words that are used by some of the MCs, but it's not a physical violent state. It's just musically inclined. Sometimes it's very comical. Sometimes, you know, people do carry feelings, get aggressive, but, you know, it's a competitive nature, so it's expected, you understand? But other than that, we just continued on making the connections, keep the music flowing, CDs, etc., and we're still here.
Not just here, but you guys are regarded as one of the top sounds in the world. I remember just a few years back, the entire city feeling so proud that you guys actually went down and represented Canada. Was it at World Clash?
Yes, we did. We actually won a World Clash in Canada in 2006.
My goodness.
We won the Canada World Clash Championship. We went the year before that, we were in the New York World Clash. We came second in the 45 shootout, which was, you know, that's a good look for the Canadian sound out there. And after we won in Toronto, we ended up playing in the Jamaica World Clash, which is called Death Before Dishonor. Irish and Chin Promotions. It was a good opportunity because to play for my hometown, my roots.
Absolutely.
Being Jamaican roots, being able to see a lot of relatives come and show support, and a lot of people that are now living in Jamaica being there to show support. So yeah, it was
Yeah, those are good times, man. So, looking back on your career now, what are some of the things that you've seen shift in the music over the last 20 years, and how is it impacting your work as a DJ, as a sound?
Okay, well, as a DJ, I think a lot that has changed would be there's a lot more DJs.
Okay, everybody's a DJ right
Everybody's a DJ right now. Big up to all the DJs that are trying and know their craft. I will not knock you, but a lot has changed because the fans that you used to have, the fan has now become the DJ. Yeah, so we're running out of fans. We're getting overpopulated with DJs. You know what I mean? That seems to be an issue that
That's fair enough.
I'm realizing a lot. And the music, of course, has changed. You know what I mean? Nowadays, I won't say, I don't know how to put it. The music is a little bit more open.
Okay.
Whereas things that we'd be afraid to say around our parents, I do come from a family where Sunday morning you get up, go to church, you come back from church, you have to come and clean up, and the music that's usually playing is some real cultural lovers rock and reggae music. You couldn't play any of the DJ artists, you know what I mean? So that has changed where I see that children are not fearful of that anymore. I would be scared to play a Shabba Ranks on a Sunday in my house. Like, playing a Shabba Ranks or a Ninja Man was like, you set yourself up for a proper cut, you know what I mean? But now a lot of the kids don't even think about that no more. So I see the music has changed, even our mind frame. You know what I mean? It's a little bit, I can't lie, a lot of the music that you're hearing nowadays wouldn't have been accepted back in our day. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of slackness. A lot of things that should be kept in the bedroom are being exposed on record. I don't know what's the excitement about that, but it seems to be the change in the music that's affecting myself, maybe, and other DJs that's been there before. So it's either you get with it or you move aside. So we're kind of on the borderline right there.
So
Kinda.
I'm curious now, just saying that, and I agree with you totally. I'm wondering, as a father now, and you have children, and you're a community mentor, and we'll get more into that very soon. Does that impact the songs that you play, or, you know what I'm saying, like the content that you push out there? Like when you walk into a dance with a DJ, are you conscious of the fact that there are some young people out there who might be influenced by the songs that you're playing?
Well, I have to admit, for myself, it does dawn on me a lot of times. Really and truly, if you're in a certain market, you know what you're in it for. You understand? If you're in a classical music market, you know you have to deliver classical music. You know what I mean? If you're in rock and roll, you have to deliver rock and roll. We're in dancehall, and what's defined as dancehall is the music that we deliver. I mean, yes, you do have to show some versatility of showing them that you could be more than just a DJ. You're a selector. You know what I mean? You're selective of your music. I've been in instances where my daughters have been in dances, and the content that my DJ would normally play, it actually made me stop and say, listen to me, you might want to just easy on those kind of music.
Let's play that Chronics again, please, one more time.
Yeah,
Let's
so,
ease out.
yeah, you gotta you have to be conscious of who you have following and what the messages you're delivering, because music is a message, right? A lot of time I use music as my tool just to influence youths, you know, to stay on a positive. So, I don't know. I won't say that I don't play those songs, but I try to stay away from them as much as possible. That's my challenge at the end of a night still, you know?
It's a tough one to walk. So that's a perfect segue into this next piece, because a lot of people don't understand that all over the 20 years while you've been traveling the world and playing music and DJing parties, you've also been very committed to doing work in your community.
Oh, yes.
And I've met you within the last few years, and I've been so impressed by how you're able to connect with young people, old people, anybody that you see, you're able to find a way to connect with them in a very natural way. So can you take us back to some of your earliest memories of programming, and then when you start to kind of become that program coordinator or that youth worker?
Well, let me see. I think I would say my earliest was when I was younger. I was introduced to programming by one of my brother's dear friends, may his soul rest in peace, Dave Samuels, who used to work with Metro Housing. We were Metro Housing. I moved into a new area and they had a recreation center, which, you know, I didn't really have much friends and I used to go there. I for some reason, my energy and my spirit gravitated to him because I seen how he was able to treat everybody in an equal manner. It doesn't mean treating everybody the same, because two different heads, two different minds, but he treated them in a respectable manner, which it made me see that, okay, you know what I mean, I'll follow your lead for now. I volunteered in the program this is when I was about 15. I started volunteering in our Metro Housing programs. I used to ask to assist with homework programs. I used to ask to assist with cleaning of the gym, which would get me more time to play, right? Of course.
Smart,
and I mean, I used to clean the gym as much as possible and then get that extension for my time to play. In doing so, I was surrounded by a lot of mentors that were working there at the time. Who even now are still in community work. I'll mention his name, of course, Dominic Breezy, who I known from I was a young buck, who is still now a great dedicated community service coordinator.
Big up Dominic Breezy, one of the realest community workers.
He's very spiritual.
Absolutely.
He's very nurturing, and I've learned so much from him, which even up to this day I still look at him as a great mentor and teacher. So in doing so, he introduced me to some more staff as his volunteer. Somebody recognized that, you know, hey, maybe we should give him a chance, which another mentor, Mike Morgan. So these are people that some of the people in our communities may know, right? He said, well, I have a job. I think you should take a look at it. In doing so, I was introduced as a rec programmer, a junior rec programmer, which I would take care of the younger children under the age of 12. So it started from there, and I just continued since. Like, I just tried to keep my hands and keep my feet inside that bracket of community work, which never really stops. You know what I mean? It only stops when you sleep, because if you're a real community worker, your work continues on and on and on, even when you're off the clock, as a mentor and a guidance piece.
So what are some of the things that you've experienced over the years in terms of like the impact that you've made in your communities?
Okay. For instance, I remember I was introduced to a program that was, well, my colleague and I were offered the opportunity to introduce a program to our community, which involved giving the young youth the opportunity to work in their communities.
Okay.
And what we'd do is we'd have teams which we'd supervise. So probably each team would consist of 4 people. You know, so we have to do some team building exercises, etc., just to make them know each other, which most of them did because they're from that community.
Right.
But what we ended up doing was going and beautifying some of the community buildings, their spaces, and letting them know that, okay, this is our space. Let's take back our space by keeping it clean. They'd get paid, and our goal at that beginning was to see who could save the most money at the end of the year.
Nice.
So, you know what I mean? It kind of taught them to save as well, which even is a piece that is now introduced into Toronto housing, which, you know, I as well work for, right? Yeah.
There's a lot going on right now, man. This is summertime. You know how it is already. Summertime, Toronto tends to heat up a little bit.
Almost definitely.
You know, the sun's shining, but also people are out. What are some of the things that you see happening in our communities that may be pushing our young people into some of the choices that they're making out there?
Recognizable resources. Does that make sense?
It makes sense on this show.
Yeah, realizing that there are resources to help. A lot of our youth are used to having things. Well, I can't say that. It would be unfair. But most of our youths in a young age would like if you offer them something. You understand?
Right.
Like, even myself as a young youth, my first job was offered to me, which I took it from a friend. My friend told me, hey, there's a job here. You should come and try and get this job. Which, when I say offered to me, is like the idea is pitched to me that, hey, you need money? There's a job over here. I think a lot of the youths in our community don't really know where to start looking. Back in the days, it used to be you look in the newspaper and see what comes up, or you listen on the radio, or you'd find a bulletin board where they tell you. Back in the days, a lot of youth used to go for jobs at CNE. I mean, CNE was one of my first jobs as well. You know what I mean? And I think if youths realize that there are jobs, and maybe not that first job you go for is for you, and they keep consistent on it, because we know that looking for a job is a job within itself, then it could help change the situation of not feeling you have to go to the criminal element of things. Sorry. Because a lot of times it's frustration that I think gets them to that point, not having what they see and maybe who they look up to. You know what I mean? I wasn't a young man that looked up to a person with a lot of gold chains and gold rings and the fanciest shoes. I always looked up to the mentor in the community that was simple like myself. He may have on a t-shirt and a shorts. He's a nice guy. He helps you with things. He helps his community. And those are the people I would look up to. A lot of people tend to look up to something that reminds them of maybe a rapper or a gangster. Maybe we have to lead our youths and let them know we shouldn't be glorifying gangsters. We should be glorifying the nerd. We should be glorifying the doctor, the
nerds
lawyer.
are winning out here, man.
They're winning right now. The nerds are living. They're living very comfortable. They're seeing the world. They're traveling with their friends. They're doing whatever it takes.
Yep.
But they're being nerd, which means sticking to the book, staying focused, knowing what you really want, setting a goal, reaching the goal. You know what I mean? Putting in the work that you have to put in to get there. You know what I mean? So if our youths realize that, I think there will be some change. I mean, it won't be overnight. It will take time, because as we know, the employment rates go up and down, especially with youth, right? Setting things for them to understand, like if you know you need a summer job, don't wait till June to look for it. You know what I mean? A lot of things, these are little tips that they don't understand. Letting them understand that if you need a job and you're going for a job as maybe a secretary or anything, put down your work that identifies what makes you good to be that role. You understand? And I think that's that's the problem that our kids and our youth don't understand, which, if they did, we would have a difference in employment. You know what I mean? Giving them the skills to make them feel confident when they're taking an interview. These are skills that they need, but they're not getting it. Maybe it's not visible enough for them to realize that, hey, that skill is being offered right across the street. You know what I mean? Because a lot of communities have supportive services within their communities, but I think everybody just kind of looks past that bulletin board that's telling them. Rather than reading it, they rather hear it from somebody.
Blackz is dropping gems right now. If you're not taking this in, please understand that this is a gentleman who has many years experience in the community. What I want to do is I want to go back for a second, if you don't mind, to one of the earliest stories that I remember you telling me a couple of years back, when you used to support a community in the West End. And there was a group of men, of leaders in the community who would come together every night and find a very innovative way to support the women in the community. Can you please talk about that and share that experience with us tonight?
Okay. Within my community, what myself and some of the other fathers used to do, we'd often have when you live in a building, there's not many places for you to relax or whatever, or have a chill spot. So everybody's spot was in between two buildings at the park. A lot of the mothers were single mothers in the community. There's a lot of fathers that may have separated from their mothers, from their children, etc. But we would all have a common ground, is the interest of the children. So what a couple of my friends in the community and myself would do as men is we'd offer the ladies the chance to, if you're going grocery shopping, go ahead. We'll be here in the park. So it was basically like a daddy daycare in so many ways. I mean, you'd have like five mothers are going to the grocery store, and we have their children, and we were very caring with the children. They wouldn't have to worry about anything. We'd make sure they have food. We're not doing it like go to the pizza store and buy a box of pizza.
Yeah.
We weren't doing that. We'd actually even build a wood fire and cook. You know what I mean? So you'd be in the park and you'd see like dumpling bubbling on a pot. You know what I mean?
Saying the
cook,
pot was
we
bubbling.
were giving them some dumpling and yams and some whatever it may be. Who wanted chicken some days? Who wanted brown stew fish? And we would just make sure that whenever these kids are with us, they're okay. And it would be even lead to a point where if it's too late, if it comes down to per se, if the sun starts to go down, we're telling every kid in the park, it's time to go inside. So their mothers may not have even gone anywhere, just to know that we were down there with them. They felt safe within the community because some of us would work in the gym as well as volunteers. Some of us were helping with homework programs. So it's just about a bunch of us, maybe 5 to 10 of us, that would just basically help the mothers in the community, help with the growth of the youth. If they have a graduation, when they come back, we'd have a little party in the park for them without them even knowing, just buy a bag of freezies, just keep them inspired, keep them on a positive note, which even up to this day, it still happens in that community. You know what I mean? The mothers feel safe. They leave them with the gentlemen or the fathers of the community. They go shopping. They have to go anywhere, get something for their child. They come back, they're happy. So yeah, I wouldn't mind if a lot of communities take that up, because as much as we are viewed different by outside society, you know what I mean? We do have to keep that structure of village growing our children. As I always say, our children, we have lion cubs. So we gotta deal with our children a little bit different from that one that you just say, all right, go sit over there, time out. You know what I mean? We gotta put a lot of effort into the growth of them, So
That's fair. That's my favorite story, man, because I'm always reminded about the importance of the community taking responsibility for our children.
Most definitely.
And that one really gets me. So tell us where you see the work going now in terms of what ideas you have for youth engagement, and anybody listening who does this kind of work, what advice do you have for them in terms of how they can engage, particularly that young man who we know doesn't want to be talked. That one was in the corner, hat pulled down in the corner. He doesn't have any type of thing to say to you. How do you, I guess, suggest that somebody could connect with that person?
Everybody has a different formula, right?
Exactly.
Being that I've always been into music, I know that one thing common amongst all of us is everybody loves music, no matter what kind it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No matter what genre it is, there's something about music that soothes you. And I tend to use music as a connecting tool with my youth. I listen to various kind of music as much as I'm a DJ in the dancehall community and the reggae world. And, you kind of gotta, I don't know how to say it. You gotta realize that not every step you make with them is gonna be smooth in the first transition. You gotta realize that you may be pushed down, and you have to get up back, and just have them realize that you're doing it because you genuinely care, not for a stat, not for a paycheck, not for being glorified, because you genuinely care. You got to be connected. You got to try and be connected as much as you can with our youth, because I think a lot of our youth feel like they're not being heard. A lot of them feel like they don't have rights. A lot of them feel like they have no say. But from you could empower a youth to realize that, the strength he has within himself and the confidence that could come out of him. I think that's the biggest tool, and I think that's what we as mentors have to do. We have to let them know that there are people that care. We are doing this because we care. We're not doing it for a check, because community work, I don't think you could pay somebody for community work. We could get a check, but if you're really doing community work, how long do you get paid? Do you get paid from 8 a.m. until 8 a.m. the next day? Or do you get paid from 8 a.m. until you go to your bed? Because if you're in the community and you're genuinely doing community work, it stops even off the clock. I finish work at 5:30, but my community work is not done until I go inside and I go to my bed, maybe 11:30. You know what I mean? Because there's people within my community that I have to make connections with. You know what I mean? There's kids you gotta hug. There's kids that, there's youth that you gotta give that daps fist. There's people you gotta stop and say, well, hey, how was school today? Or hey, how's everything? How's mom? You know what I mean? You gotta let them feel like they're a part of you. You know what I mean? And you gotta make sure that they're a part of you yourself, within yourself as a mentor. You know what I mean? So you can get a better understanding. You know, take the time out to understand that everybody has different barriers that they're going through and different struggles. Not all struggles are the same.
That's a heavy piece, man. I got one more question for you. I know you got to get out of here, but I want to ask you one more piece. Growing up in our city, Toronto always had a very distinct culture, you want to say, that we always knew ourselves in terms of this is who we are.
Yes.
Do you think that has continued? And do you think that Toronto has its own identity still, or are we kind of been absolved by the whole U.S. culture and that whole U.S. rap culture that's out there in a way right now? Not to point out the rap culture, but you know what I mean.
Okay, I think this could be a tough one, as simple as the question sounds. We do have a culture which, if you pay attention, it's being adapted to by the rest of the world now. We have other people saying things that we as Canadians or we as Torontonians say.
Been saying for a long time.
True say you don't know, all those stuff, all those talks these youth use. We've been saying that. I do agree that American music has a big influence on our youth today, but I do realize that our youth in Toronto are still trying to push out the fact that we're from Toronto and this is how we are and this is who we are. So I can't really say the culture is going down. I would more say it's in more growth. It's in more growth because of the mere fact that it's growing with the mere fact of internet, social media. Yes. You know what I mean? It's doing a lot. It's doing a lot for our rappers. It's doing a lot for our artists. It's doing a lot for our singers. It's doing a lot, period. So I think more so than before, Toronto is now in a bigger growth than ever. You know what I mean? Where it comes to many things, not just music. Many
I was
things.
curious because I know that I'm watching the whole play right now. And I agree with you in terms of, you're still seeing that underground culture always push out their own subculture.
Most definitely.
Despite that they're plugged in to the social media outlets, there's still a Toronto twang.
Definitely.
That's very distinct.
The Six or T Dot or you know what I mean. Don't know. As I said, fam or A. You know what I mean. These are all the things that are direct Toronto T Dot slang that we can't even let go as much as we try.
Big up the UK too, because the UK has their own talks. The UK
has some crazy
talks. They have their talks too.
You got to stay focused when you listen to that UK music. That's speedy. That's some speedy cross between dancehall and hip hop.
Big up a little bit garage fans out there listening today. Listen, Blackz, man, I am so blessed to have you on today because I know that people know you as a legendary DJ in the city. Your sound has done so much for reggae music, for dancehall culture. But I thought it was important for people to know you and your contributions to community development.
Yes, definitely.
And to youth engagement. So I want to just big you up and say thank you very much for what you do. And I know that you'll continue to push out the works. And I'm just really grateful for you, man, today. So listen, we want to be able to find you online. Where are you guys playing next? What's the next Black Reaction dance? You guys are out every night of the week, it seems like, out there right now.
It's been a busy year, and I'm grateful. You know what I mean? After 23 years of Black Reaction, 24. It's good when you're still on float. But you could check me out at Black Reaction Sound on Instagram, Black Reaction Sound, or you could have Mista Blackz, Mista Blackz, Blackz, Instagram, or you could just find us on Facebook, Black Reaction Sound. All right, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you to all the listeners for listening in. One love, Olu, and keep up the positive vibes, man.
Big up, man. Bless up.
Appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
All right.